Hello, everybody. I decided to share something that I haven't talked about because I've been going through it and I didn't want to talk about the struggle at the moment because I was integrating so much of it, I guess you could say, but I've learned a lot and now I want to share that with you. So, hi everybody jumping on. Thanks for being here with me. So, I was struggling so much the past 4 weeks, and it's been exactly a month since my show, and a lot of people ask me how I've been doing, how are things going, and to be honest with you guys, it's been really hard. I have been depressed, my anxiety has been coming back, I have been struggling with my relationship with food, and it's just been rough. And now I feel prepared to talk to you guys about it and talk to you about what's going on. So, after my show, I felt really good, really proud of everything I had done. And what I realized was that I really needed to shift into a new identity because identity work is so important when it comes to the decisions we make every day. Our identity is going to determine those actions we take. So I was identifying as a competitor, and as a competitor I give 110%, all in, all or nothing, no excuses, no nothing. When it comes to food, I don't take bites of anything, I don't take licks of anything, I only eat what I'm told to eat, and that's that. So what happens after the show? Well, I realized I was just eating because I was hungry. My body was needing food. It did need food. But then there were times when I was eating just because I could. And this is kind of hard for me to share and talk about, but I feel like it's really important to discuss it and share what I've learned from it. So if you guys please stick with me through this, that'd be amazing, because it would mean a lot to me. So anyway, I was just eating because I could, because I was no longer in the identity of a competitor. I still wanted to compete. I am going to compete into the next year, but there are certain things with my health that have to be sorted out as well. And that's okay. I got all my blood work done and everything's perfect. I'm good, but there's still things that aren't happening. So anyway, back to the food topic. I would feel really guilty about everything that I was eating. And I'm getting a little emotional because I haven't talked about this, but I was feeling so guilty about everything that I'd eat, and I was beating myself up over it, and I was questioning, am I good enough? I look horrible. My body's not working for me. All these things. I was just saying, hey, everybody jumping on, thanks for being here. Oh, thank you, Sandy. To everyone watching, I'm doing, if you're watching the replay, I'm doing this live, so that's why I'm communicating with others, but essentially, I was beating myself up so much, I was scratching myself, beating myself up so much over the food that I would eat. It was just so silly. And before I got back into competing, I had a very unhealthy relationship with food that I needed to work on mending, and I did, and I have the tools and I have the strategies and I have the means to do that. So I was like, okay, I need to do this again. So I didn't tell you guys that I was snacking way too much. I didn't express that I was eating too much or eating off certain things because I didn't feel it was appropriate or necessary because I needed to go through it. Anyway, it was really hard because I was wrapped up in this world where I thought I wasn't good enough because no one else is going through this. No one else looks as bad as I do. No one else looks this bad only 2 weeks after their show, and that was hard for me, and I found myself falling into comparison so much. I was constantly comparing myself, which I had never done before. I never would compare myself, seriously. So when I found myself doing that, I was like, what is going on? And then I would walk by something and I'd be like, oh, I haven't had a cookie since 4 hours ago, I can have another one, and then I would. Besides the point, what I came to realize and have learned lately is that I just wasn't listening to my body. A big part of mending our relationship with ourselves or with food or with anything is just identifying our identity and what it is and who we see ourselves as. So I had rooted my identity in this all or nothing type of person, and I'm very type A in that way. But I wasn't giving myself the freedom I actually need to step back into a lifestyle habit, a lifestyle pattern. And that lifestyle pattern requires me to be able to feel healthy and free and empowered by the food and the fuel that I eat and put in my body. But instead, I was just gorging on certain things, and then I would feel like crap. And I was so bloated. I think you guys remember I was so bloated. Even when I would have days where I only ate clean, my body was just not happy. It was really having a hard time. So anyway, fast forward, I'm going through all this. I'm feeling so depressed. Before I went to Vegas, I was crying my eyes out all night, and I had to wake up in 3 hours and drive to Vegas. And then I was crying the whole time, and luckily my mom was there for me, and she was like, what's going on? And I told her everything I'd been going through, about the food, about my body image, about certain people in my life. Then I get to Vegas, and I'm in a good place. I finally got all that out of me. I feel like I reconnected to who I am, and this guy comes up to me, and he basically was like, you look like you're high. Like, you've been looking like you're high this whole time. And I was like, excuse me, what? And then all these things started happening where what people were saying to me, I was just like, okay, that's interesting. And it wasn't impacting me, but what happened was I would start judging myself, and then everything that other people told me I would take as judgment. So, for example, I was on the Stairmaster, and this guy comes up to me, and he's like, wow, you've gained some weight. And I was so sad by it. It made me so upset. And then someone else came up to me and was like, you're getting bigger. And I was like, what the hell? Who makes these comments? No one makes these comments to anyone else in the gym, but because I'm a competitor, because I like change my body all the time, this is okay. So disgusting. But then I realized so much of it was just because I had those judgments on myself that anytime I heard it, I would take it the wrong way. I was crying in the cycling room in my gym. Like, it was so bad, you guys. Like, I started to feel like life didn't matter. I started to feel like I wasn't worthy of anything. I started to feel really invaluable, and I knew that a lot of this was because of the food that I was eating. I knew that it was making me feel like crap on the inside and on the outside, and I was starting to perceive life differently in a way that I hadn't perceived it in so long. That's why I said I was falling back into depression and anxiety. But what I learned and what I want to share with you, we feel guilty, and I was feeling so guilty, like I said, about food I would eat or not eat. And I was feeling so guilty, and I would look in the mirror and I was like, I'm fat now. I'm not a fitness person. I look so bad. Blah, blah, blah. I was saying horrible things that made me just feel like I wasn't valuable, which is so wrong because one, like, I'm not actually any of those things. Two, my body image was extremely skewed. Like, definitely have been going through and still am a little bit dealing with a little bit of like body dysmorphic disorder type things where I look in the mirror and I see something completely different than reality. But I'm working through that, so it's okay. And it's getting better, but essentially, like, guilt comes up when our identity is not, or our actions are inconsistent with our identity. So what that means is I was identifying so deeply as this tight-knit, everything's perfect person that when I wasn't taking those actions, I would feel really guilty. I was like, oh, if I have a little bit of freedom, I should feel guilty. Oh, if I have an Oreo, or if I have this, or if I have that, I should feel guilty. I should. I don't. I am not good enough. All these things because my identity was different. So now I thought, okay, well, what do I need to think about? What do I need to do? And I remember always telling myself throughout all my preps, throughout even in the beginning of my journey, and then all through into like my self-love and healing journey in regards to like my personal development and relationship with myself and food, was that I am a healthy person. Health can be defined in many different ways, but I know I'm not a person who's going to let myself go. I'm not a person who's going to put my health at risk. I'm not a person who's going to just like destroy any progress I made. Like, that's just not who I am. It's not possible for me. Like, it's not going to happen. So, and I was like, if I'm not 100%, then I'm 0. That's how I was. I was literally creating these generalizations of like, if I'm not perfect, then I'm failing, and that's it. So I would feel guilty. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling so much, but I think it's just because I tried to write this in a post. Like, you can see it on my computer. I tried to write it on a post. I can't write it out because it's so much, and I haven't talked about it, so I feel like talking about it's gonna help me. Yeah, but anyway, like, guilt comes up when our actions are inconsistent with our identity. For example, if you steal something, you feel guilty, it's because you don't identify yourself as a thief. So I was like identifying myself as this healthy all or nothing person, that then when I wasn't doing that, I was failing, and I was supposed to feel guilty. Thank you, I'm glad you're here for me, that makes me emotional. But anyway, I make this page, I do this stuff because I really love you guys. I want you to benefit from, like, the things I go through. I want to be able to teach you. Yes, I'm a coach. Yes, I work with people on this stuff every day. Yes, this is, like, my page is, like, my business, right? But at the same time, I go through stuff too. So I want to share that so you guys can learn from it. But anyways, if you're feeling guilty about any of the actions you're taking, check to see where your identity is, because a lot of times, like, it just means that you're taking actions that's out of consistency or out of alignment with your identity. So what I have to do and what I've come to realize is, number one, I was eating just because it was there and I could, and I wasn't on prep. Number two, I didn't want any of the food that I was actually eating. My body didn't want it. I was literally, like I said, just eating it to eat it, but my body didn't want it, and when it did want it, I would give it to it, but then when it didn't want it, I would give it to it. So I was not honoring my soul. I was not honoring my body's needs. I wasn't listening. I wasn't nourishing myself to the best of my ability. Number three, I would beat myself up, and I was comparing myself because my environment, I was only fueling negativity. I was only looking at posts and things that further spun me into the spiral of I shoulds versus it's not who I am. So my environment was influencing that, and I wasn't setting boundaries where I needed to be. Number four, basically, I came to the realization that, like, I know who I am, and if I separate myself from everything else and I know who I am, I have the ability, and you do too, but I have the ability to just give myself exactly what I need at exactly the right time, and I can trust that my body knows, and I'll know, and it's okay. And yes, I'm going into a building phase, but that doesn't mean I can eat 110% of everything, right? It just means, like, I gotta eat my plan and do my thing and whatever. So I wrote my own plan, I wrote my own meal plan, I wrote my own training plan, all this, been taking my progress pictures, whatever. Been coaching myself and feeling very good. Number five, next biggest thing that I've really just honed in on today and yesterday is, like, I can have days when I'm not in prep where I still eat 110%. I'm not a bad or a good person for it. And this is the kicker, you guys. This is the kicker. You're not a bad person for what you eat, just like you're not a good person for what you eat. So determining your worth or your value based on what you eat or don't eat is so silly. You're so much more than that, right? You're so much more than that. And I had to remind myself that, one, I feel healthier. I feel healthy and strong. And yeah, maybe I have a little extra, but it's hardly anything. Like, what? I'm crazy. I have energy again. I'm not having to sit on it. Well, sometimes I still do, but I don't have to bring a pad with me to sit down. I don't have to lay down in pain because I'm so lean that everything just hurts, and I'm not feeling like I'm gonna run into walls when I'm walking. I don't feel like I can't stay awake. I have life in me again. And don't get me wrong, I love competing. I love all that. It's for a completely different reason. I don't do competing just to be lean, right? So that's the thing. Can you accept what comes with that? But that's for another day. The point is, I've been struggling. Everybody struggles. Like Sandy just said, we're not perfect, we're human, we grow and learn for the better. Exactly. Life is beautiful, and I am happier. I am happy. I have happy days. You can tell I'm happy. But there are moments where I'm just like, and I was getting depressed and anxious over nothing, guys. I was anxious. You know why I was anxious? Because anxiety, and this is funny, I study psychology, so I feel like it's been a mind lately. Like, sorry for the curse word, but it's just been that way. Like, I've been reading all this stuff and I'm like, I have to get up and step away from my schoolwork because I know what I'm going through, and then I read that and I'm like, but it's good. That's why I like studying it. But anyway, anxiety appears when our circumstances, like in our outer world, are not basically within our comfort zone, I guess you could say, or they're not part of our norms. So then we get anxious about it. And I was getting anxious because my stomach was bigger than it was 2 weeks ago. And I was getting anxious because my stomach and gut was feeling all gross and icky even when I was eating clean. And I was feeling all anxious because I couldn't walk by food without wanting a bite. And I was feeling anxious because I had to be a certain way in order to be awesome and amazing and inspiring. And that's all false. I am perfect the way I am because I am growing. I recognize things as growth. I recognize opportunities and I seize them. And now what I have learned, and this, like I said, is dragging forever. I'm talking so much, but I hope this benefits you guys. I really hope so. I hope the dragging doesn't deter people from watching. You know what? I'm going to trust that everyone who needs to watch this is going to watch it. But essentially, yesterday, I ate everything on my plan. Today, I've eaten everything on my plan. I don't want anything else. A couple days ago, I went out wine tasting, chocolate tasting, etc. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm working on it. I'm actually a student of psychology. I'll be done in the spring. Someone asked me if I'm a psychologist, that's why I'm going into this. I'll be done in the spring, and then I'll go from there. But anyway, I do self-love coaching, mindset coaching, etc. But regardless, what I'm getting at is, like, we're ever evolving. We are always changing. We are always growing. And if we, thank you. I'm glad that you enjoy this. Yoke status, thank you. But yeah, it's just really important to recognize that if you feel guilt, like, it's because you're not aligned with the identity. So either change your identity or change your actions. What's going to make you feel better? Having a cookie is not unhealthy. Okay? Having 10 cookies because they're there and you can and whatever and you gorge and you feel like crap, that's unhealthy. That's unhealthy. Beating yourself up looking in the mirror is not unhealthy. You do not have mental health. This is real. You do not have mental health if you look in the mirror and don't see yourself as you are. So, I'm working on it and I think you guys will be proud of me. I haven't been to therapy in years because I was so depressed, I was so suicidal, I was really anxious. A few years ago, started going to therapy for it, did 10 sessions, it changed my life, it was amazing. Really set me off for more of my personal development journey and all that. So I'm going back, I have my first appointment on Friday. I feel like I'm one of those people who wants to go into therapy with an already perceived understanding of what's going on. So I'm glad that I know this stuff. I'm glad I understand myself a little bit better and what's happening. So now I can go in there with like a little bit clearer of a mind rather than like a scatter plot. But if you go in scattered, that's okay too. Like, that's why you go there too, you know? That's just me. But anyway, I'm rambling. What am I saying? I don't know. But anyways, I didn't want anything off my plan yesterday. I didn't want anything off my plan today. But I'm not going to judge myself or say, I'm so good because I didn't want anything off my plan, or I'm so good because I did want things off my plan. I'm not good or bad for any of it. I'm just who I am. I'm just living my life. I'm just doing what I need to do, and I'm being healthy and fulfilled and empowered and listening to my body more and honoring my soul. Like, this is the only body I'll ever have, and my soul deserves to be treated with so much love, and the only way I can do that is if I support the vehicle that's holding it. Thank you. I appreciate the support. You guys are so amazing. Like, I ramble, I talk a lot, but you know, maybe eventually this will turn into an actual post. I'll watch it over and be like, what the? Anyways, you guys are awesome people. Like, I can't even begin to explain, like, thank you. I hope to be a great psychologist, or I hope to at least have great knowledge in the field to be able to support you guys more, and myself and the people that I work with. So I think it's a good time to wrap it up, but I just want to let you guys know, like, if you did watch all of this, thank you. Please let me know, like, what was your main takeaway? Like, what did you learn? Like, if you can comment that would be cool, because then I can hopefully generate more content to write it out and know, like, what can I help more people with? And then just from here on out, I just want to be transparent with you guys that I go through stuff, and you guys know, like, all of you are on here. I know you guys read all my posts. Like, you guys do not go unnoticed, so thank you. I also know that there's people who are going to watch this who read my posts, so thank you. But I just want to let you guys know, like, you guys read my stuff. You know I'm always vulnerable, always open, always sharing from the heart, always raw, always keeping it real. Like, that's how I am. That's how it's always going to be. Sometimes I have to go through things before I can talk about them, and that was one of those things. I'm glad I could share it with you guys today. I hope you learned something from it too. It's a process. From here on out, I'm not going to judge, well, I'm going to do my best not to judge myself based on the food that I eat or don't eat. I'm not a better person because I stayed on my plan. I'm not a worse person because I didn't. Okay? I'm just Celeste all the time. Celeste. That's me. And I'm going to be my best self all the time. And I'm going to listen to my body. I'm going to tune into my body always. If my body wants something, I'm going to give it to her. If she doesn't, I'm not. If it honors my goals, I'm going to support her. If it doesn't, I'm not. And that doesn't mean that I can't enjoy life. I'm going to enjoy life so much more because every action I take will be, is this good for me? Is this good for my soul? Do I actually want this? Will this benefit me? And if the answer is yes, then yay, cool, let's do it. Let's have it. Let's go do that thing. Let's make this thing happen. But if the answer is no, then where else am I missing fulfillment? Where else am I needing to fill a void? What is the void I'm trying to fill with that? A lot of tuning in. You're welcome. I'm glad this was helpful. Thank you for being here to hear my story. And you're welcome for the reality. A lot of times, this is what someone just wrote. Thanks for the reality. I think a lot of times competitors go through my struggles after a show, so it's good to hear about it. Yeah. Pretty much every competitor does. I've had shows where I didn't go through any problems after the show, but I was killing myself in the gym and I was not building the muscle I needed to build. Like, if I'm being completely honest, after one of my shows, after my August show, I knew, like, that was my first show back in season, my first show back from taking a break. I got back on stage. I was like, okay, I don't want to lose this. And I reverse dieted, but I didn't really. I just followed my prep plan in reverse. And I look at my pictures and I'm like, February was my best, like, my favorite look. But then, like, I didn't develop much muscle. I was just so much leaner. So then my last show was my most favorite look because I developed muscle and I was leaner, which is so good. And I couldn't have done that without an off season. Like, I posted on my story the other day. Like, I couldn't have gotten here without being there. I have to keep reminding myself of that. So I'll always share. If you guys have questions or you want to know more about what I've been going through, please let me know. But either way, just remember, you have so much power within you. You have so much ability to create the life you want, to feel the way you want to feel, and just know that you're totally worth every painful moment of it, every satisfying moment, every fulfilling moment. You deserve it. It's okay. You're going to be okay. You're already amazing, and you're just getting better. This is life. Ever-changing, ever-evolving. And I have a post coming in a few days on the reality of it all. So thank you guys for being here. I love you, and bye.